Howdy, everyone, and welcome to another live digital kava session here on the Polynesianized podcast. You have Tua Fale here coming from Southern Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. Mr. Aotearoa is on the road, but he has been gracious enough to join us. He is in the mountains of Utah. Mr. Aotearoa, how are
Yes,
things?
sir. Hey, it's good, Tua. I'm glad to be here in the land of the free, home of the brave.
First is we're going to react to a um, Tongan sister who shared some of her thoughts and what she's kind of observed um, in regards to like how we perceive ancient Tongans and what she grew up seeing. She has some interesting
Mm,
comments there, and we're gonna react to that um, here. And then also to end it out, we're gonna walk through some of Captain Cook's observations during his 3 visits to Tonga. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he visited Tonga more than any other island group. He came to Tonga 3 times. Obviously we're a little biased. We think there's a reason why he came there more times, but
mm.
maybe he would have gone to other places more. But unfortunately, our Hawaiian brothers and sisters decided to send Brother Cook to the other side of the veil.
Pulotu. Send him to
Um,
Pulotu.
send him to Pulotu. The question is, did he go to Pulotu Aka Aka or to Pulotu Tu'uma'u? I guess we'll find out sometime.
Ew. Ew. Looks like it. Maybe, what do you think? Maybe Pulotu Aka Aka, Tua? Or
Well,
you
I
think
don't know. He
you
seemed
think
to be a
Cook?
pretty fair guy. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you have any negative perspectives on Mister
Well,
Cook?
apparently he kind of. I've been hearing some stuff. Apparently, some of his crew members would go and do some unpleasant things and other islands and all that kind of stuff. But who knows? Who knows? And apparently, a cook allowed it to happen. But those are theories. But oh well, we'll see what happens. Like what you said, in Puerto.
All right. Mr. T says top 2 podcast, and it ain't number 2.
Hey, these mano.
Hello, T's. Appreciate it. Charlie Fly says Lute and Charmaine were an awesome addition. Few episodes back. Can't wait to read more about Lute's finding
Mm, mm.
about our ancient capital of Mu'a. Yes, absolutely. She had some interesting perspectives. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I think Char is the one who mentioned this, is the term Nuku'alofa,
Ooh, yes.
right? Where Char mentioned that, a lot of people have the perspective that Nuku'alofa is Samoan based name, and because of its Nuku'alofa. But she
Mm,
says some of the oral history that she is investigating into says it's really Nuku'alofa. That
mm.
was the Nuku where they saw the 4 rowers bringing in the Tu'i Tonga, maybe. I don't know. Or was it another Tu'i Tonga? I can't remember specifically. But interesting, right? This is why we
Yeah.
have these discussions. That's some of the history that's being dug up there. And then also, obviously, what Lute is driving into, some of the history that she's driven by to bring stories that are forgotten and sharing that side of the coin. Last one here before we jump into the program. UTOL, Mahalo Kautama, he says, thank you. UTOL, appreciate you joining in.
And just to add on to, I think we are planning to have Lute and Shar again for another episode regarding like for some other stuff that we would want to catch up with them. So hopefully we'll bring that to
Yes.
you, to the viewers,
You know,
future time.
yes. No, that I agree 100%. Hangagor lau, ki mafa na tala noa, and then all of a sudden we realize, man, we're almost 2 hours in and we didn't even get to some of the stuff we
Yeah.
were hoping to get to. But obviously, there were a couple other items we wanted Lute and Char to kind of react to. Some of
Mm,
it had to do with the Offside podcast. And then, some of it had to do with some of their background of coming from Mu'a,
mm.
right? The ancient capital, and some of the experiences and understanding that they have with that background. So that's exciting stuff, and we're hoping to have them join us again here in the next few weeks.
Mhm.
With that being said, let me let's here we go. Let's let me know if you can see the screen here,
Yep.
Mr. Aotearoa. I am toggling with one screen yet. The studio in Las Vegas hasn't been built yet. I have a small garage here that I'm looking to convert into the official headquarters of the podcast. But
Still
a
under
lot of
construction.
still under construction, a lot of ideas, not enough money or time.
Mm.
So little by little, we will add to that. But I wanted to kind of listen and kind of do a reaction to this sister's thoughts on our culture and our people. So we'll see. Let me know if you don't hear the sound. I am known to not have the sound work sometimes, but let's listen to her.
All right. Oh, I'm not hearing the sound,
Yep,
Dora.
there we go. I think we're ready now.
So I've got a very unpopular opinion,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of Tongans won't like it, but that's okay. It's an unpopular opinion from an unpopular person. Um, and like, I'm not an influencer, but hey, I mean, could you imagine a world without influencers? Oh my gosh, like, how are we going to survive this world? Anyway, I do think that we over exaggerate this whole we were warriors thing. Like, this whole Tongan warriors. I do know our ancestors did fight wars and stuff. We did have warriors or like kautoa, but I do think it's exaggerated, and exaggeration is a huge element of Tongan Talanoa or Tongan Talanoa, um, because it's how we make something mali and like a story like interesting and outstanding is that when we exaggerate it a little bit, and then we sort of, when we're sitting around conversating in a circle, we kind of like just build on like a topic, and then we just start just keep building it until we actually like hit a point where it's like, yeah, this is the extent of the mali, and we call that like it's like mafana talanoa, which is same thing when like in dance, like Dawe Langi, because like there's a climax that we've reached with the whole Mafana and how Malie a person dances. Anyway, yeah, the reason why I say this is like, I mean, compared to the Spartans, right? Like Sparta, they fostered this whole culture of war because these places were constantly in war. Like they mastered this the art of war, and they had academies where they literally had like young boys or like little kids from the age of 7. They were taught how to like fight. They even mastered like what do you call those, like weaponry. They mastered making spears and shields and those helmets that they wore and stuff. But I mean, I think at best Tongans were part-time warriors. I mean, come at me, but I think they were like, they were just, farmers that knew how to
Not to come at
fight.
me.
Like we weren't constantly in war for us to like build like these characters like Prince Hector from Troy, and like you've got Achilles from, like these places. Like, and I keep saying Sparta is because, those were real warriors because they were taught as a young age. It's part of their life. Their life was to fight. That wasn't the lives of Tongans, I don't think. Like, we were cultivators, we were fishermen, we grew crops. Like, we weren't constantly like at war. Like, we didn't have like academies. I've never heard of like, ne tau ne tupu whoki ai, tō a whoki mono ako I mene tau fitu. Me ke tau. I'm never
Sparta.
in my life. Like, but yeah, like, I don't know. I think sometimes we over exaggerate because we want to compare to these like universal like myths. or like history. I don't know. There's beauty in our own stories, and I don't think we have to strive to be in comparison to stand out or to be unique. You know, like yeah, like we were skilled seafarers because we were surrounded by ocean. Of course, we're going to be skilled in seafaring. Like just, I think yeah, but yeah, like, it's just
Come at me. Come on.
I just cringe when I see those reels of like warriors and then now they dance like you have to dance like a warrior. Like you've got like Tongan men just dancing like they're going to rip their little chests apart. Like calm down, just
Not a little chest.
steady.
Come on, at least give him a big chest.
But yeah, right. That's all. So
All right. All
Interesting.
right. What are your thoughts, Mr. Ateroa?
I think I agree with her to the point that not every I mean, I think there were a certain set of groups of guys that were full-time warriors, I would say. But was that majority of the time? I don't think so. But there were specific men that were trained to be, let's just say, let's just call it specialization in a certain trait. So we had what do they call it? They called it the ha'atufunga doutai, ha'atufunga fa'uvaka, ha'atufunga, whatever that may be, you know. So, and then because I'm just going back with the stories of the men in Mariner stories that there was so much peace and stability in Tonga that they went and caused some war in Fiji. So does that mean
they got bored?
They got bored, and Fiji was always unstable? And I'm just saying, those guys that went to Fiji that spent many years in Fiji and the ones who survived were refined to be specialized warriors. So would I say were they picked out when the age of 7, like she's comparing it to Sparta? I don't know. Maybe with this, do they have to start at age of 7 or start at later age? I don't know. But if I had to compare physically, of course the Spartans had the resources and metal. That was their advantage. But to wrestle and have a wrestling match, I put my money on a Tongan, man, or even a boxing match, and then for her to see like, okay, because she it sounds like she's putting the Sparta warrior as the top, the top of what a warrior should look like. But I don't know, man. Like what we found as fun, you it sounds like something Sparta, or even the game. What is it? What is the games to in Rome? The Colosseum, the gladiators.
The gladiators.
Tonga's way of, actually all of Polynesia was gathering as a circle when the Ha'amoas would come. From the stories William Mariner would say, they'll play the Ha'amoa way of doing games when they would wrestle or beat up each other, have a boxing match, or they're doing the Tongan way of game. So, and that was a form of very physical, this was very physical game. This is like the gladiator games in Polynesia. So, just in physical abilities, I'll put a Tongan against anybody, or a Polynesian. I'll put a Polynesian against anybody. And I to describe the details of them being young, I don't know, but I'm gonna say, but the stories that I hear, Polynesia being very stable, and then seems like Fiji was the place of no man's land that you can go and get into battles and wars. If that what you was lusting for, or like lusting for, if you have a thirst for blood or whatever, that's where you go. So that's just my thoughts there. I don't know if you had anything different or.
No, so the thing is interesting is she does have a good point, right? And when we get to Captain Cook's references, there is some truth to what she's saying, but I think I just thought about this video, and we'll react to this next video. We're gonna add another video before we get to Captain Cook that reinforces that this idea. The fact that you have peace, right? Because she's right. One of the unique features of Tonga was the peace.
Mm,
And when there's peace, guess what happens when there's peace? There's prosperity.
mm,
And that was one of the things that we'll see in Captain Cook's descriptions of Tonga was he was blown away, but how many resources were available and how peaceful and also how well cultivated the land is.
yeah.
Right? Because you remember we watched that one video of Kamehameha when he was uniting all the islands,
Mm,
that there was a point where he just had them, focus on building boats and war and stuff. That what happened? Famine. They didn't have enough food. So he was like, oh crap, well, if we just fight all the time, then it's very difficult to be prosperous because instead of cultivating food and resources, you're burning up food and resources to kill each other. And there's at some point you're just going to run into famine. And so that is a unique feature of Tonga, right? However, I will underlie it with this. And I think this video that we're going to watch that I wasn't planning to share here is
mm,
in order to have order, you have to have an underlying enforcement mechanism, which is basically force, right? There's a reason why, like you mentioned in William Mariner's explanation, is well, these guys wanted war, but they didn't dare bring it up in Tonga. Why? Because there would have been a consequence, right? The because society is structured,
mm,
the use of force would be to stop the war. If you're trying to cause trouble, it's like it's the strength, it's peace through strength, right? You have peace not because everybody's an angel.
yeah.
No, it's just there's enough structure and order that anyone who causes disorder, the strength comes out to extinguish the disorder. Because we look at the examples like you were mentioning earlier, Masi, the Tongans were very good at war,
Yeah.
right? We talk about Tui Halafatai, right? He's the guy who took
Tu'i Halafatai
all those.
switch.
Yes, the Tui
Yeah.
Halafatai switch. He's the one that took them to a bunch of young Tongan warriors. And what was the description? They would go help one clan, fight all the other clans, and once they defeated all the other clans, the Tongans would leave that clan, go join maybe one of the clans that they defeated before, and then start war and fight everyone else again. Because war is that once you get the taste of blood, it
Mm,
sounds like that's all you want to do, right? All of a sudden, going to Uta and Huo and planting Ufi and Talo, that's boring now. That's no longer exciting. It doesn't get the adrenaline going. You get addicted to the adrenaline and the rush, right? And this is to me, yes, if the Tongans chose to go to war, they were very successful at war. We even look at Enele, Alpha, or Mafu,
mm,
right? He left Tonga, was a very promised young upcoming chief. He goes to Fiji, and within 30 years is a major chief in
yeah.
Fiji. So that to me is he has some truth to it,
Yeah.
but you have to understand that the stability is only possible because you have the power to enforce peace.
Mm.
And any thoughts on that, Masi, before I bring up this
Yeah.
other video?
Yeah. Well, and just to talk about that story that was mentioned about um is it Tui Fatai? What's that guy's name?
Tui Halapatai.
Tui Halafatai. And remember how he passed away. He was not well, and he still chose to go fight, knowing that he was gonna die. In
Right.
order for you, like, how much warrior mentality do you have to have? I think she's just not aware of many stories. And there's he's not the only one. There's many stories of warriors, just like the Tu'i Halafatai story. That's why you kind of gave that name with the Tu'i Halafatai switch, because he just went bonkers, even though he was actually sick, but he still went crazy and died in the
It was
war.
his dream to die in war. He'd rather die in war than laying down in a bed.
Yes, and then even even some other stories of other warriors during the civil wars of 300 years that was happening in Tonga. There's multiple stories of Tongan warriors that were like that. So I think she's just, you know, maybe not too, maybe not aware of many stories, or maybe, and she could be one of those ones that were families were not really warriors. They were the ha'atufunga, fa'uvaka, or other specialized, agriculture farmers. Who knows? But there's quite a few stories of Tongan warriors, because I don't know what the Tu'i Hawhatai, what is explained in the Mariner's account. I don't know how much warrior you have to be than that what Tu'i Hawhatai did. So that's just one example of many throughout Tonga's wars within Tonga Civil War and throughout Polynesia, and other Polynesians too that have multiple warriors with that kind of story. So, I don't know what else to go from that.
What do you want to? What here? I'll read this, Masi, and you take a first swing at it. Josh E, very active on our YouTube channel here. He says Tongans weren't warriors, bro. Yous had to go to warrior islands to get a taste.
Well, Josh, this is my thoughts here. They are warriors, and you can take them to any other island, and they can go and have. It's almost like I said, Fiji seems to be the land of anything could happen. That's what it seems like. It seems like it was anarchy. There was no stability, and that's where when you have your child that really wants to just fight everybody or do it, you put them in the military. This is what Tonga did. Vava'u and other islands were so peaceful that you send them to the military school or whatever to go and fight or whatever. They go to Fiji and they just keep fighting until they're tired of fighting, and then they come back. But that's just my thoughts there. That's my thoughts there. Regarding Josh's question. So, at the end of the day, warriors are really important, but it's the mentality, it's the political savviness and the political maneuvering that's what held Tonga together, because your physical capabilities can only take you so far. So, it's kind of the perfect example of that was like Taufa'ahau having that physical capability of his warrior, and also the political savviness of preserving Tonga it is today. So, it's just one of those things. That's just my thoughts there. But it's just, to me, from what I understand, Fiji was the place you want to send the Tongan males or whatever that just wanna kill people and have fun and whatever. Because it seems like the Fiji was the place to go. So, who knows? Until the Civil War in Tonga happened, because that was like 300 years. But that's my thoughts there.
Yeah, my thoughts is this. My favorite kind of warrior, the warrior who wins, right? The warrior who wins. Now, in regards to Sparta, hey, they were really good, but you know what happened with Sparta? Not enough military strength, not enough ability to adapt. That's why Sparta fell, right? And the Athenians outlasted them because they had a more stable group. Then you look at all the quote unquote warriors in Polynesia. Well, how many of them kept their independence and their land and their freedom? So, Josh, everyone has a right to defend what you think is the ideal warrior. Like I'm more aligned with you, Mr. Aotearoa. There are many aspects to a warrior. There's a warrior physicality. There's a warrior mentality. But also, there's a real warrior understands the battlefield. And sometimes the battlefield is not the physical one. It's the mental. It's the political warrior that needs to come out to win. So I don't know. I mean, he can say what he wants, but I look at the results. When I look at the scoreboard, it says Tonga independent, rest of Polynesia, quote unquote, warriors colonized. Yeah. So it's hard for me to take it seriously when you say that's the reality. The other thing too is one of my favorite scenes of any movie is from The Mask of Zorro, when you know the one with Antonio Banderas,
Mm.
and you know Antonio Banderas' brother is the one gets killed by that American soldier with
Mm.
the big pistol, right? And and then after he kills Antonio Banderas' brother, and then Antonio Banderas is drinking at the bar, and the old Zorro has just escaped from prison, and Antonio Banderas. This is Josh's version of a warrior, right? Is what Antonio Banderas was going to do. He was going to go out drunk, right? He's going to go and try and attack the American soldier that killed his brother. Zorro, the real warrior, Zorro stops him and said, "You would have fought very bravely and died very quickly." That's Josh's kind of warrior. You know, the one who dies and loses the
Oh.
war. And then what does the real warrior do? He says, "Let me teach you how to fight first." Right? And it's not about fighting physically first. You have to go and build wealth.
Strategize.
You have
Is
to
this
build a strategy. You have to build alliances. You have to build all these things, you know? And that's my comparison of the warrior you and I have in mind versus Josh's warrior there.
so Tua, you're trying to say Josh likes the stupid warriors, but we like the
Yes.
smart warriors, eh? The ones that
Yeah.
win.
You,
Eh?
you know,
'Cause it's
you
only the
know-
smart warriors that win because we still have Tonga today, and the rest is they're still saying that we're not strong enough or we don't have warriors.
Yeah, you know, hey Josh, you know, if we went to war, I would have loved to have a guy like you. I put you at the front of the line. Eh? Put Josh at the front of the line. He's a real warrior. He would have come to me. Yeah.
Tua, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tu'i Tonga those days put the Varikua warriors in front and say, "Masi, these are the ones who cause havoc and now always disturb the peace. Put them in front. Might as well kill them." And that's
Yeah.
I think Josh will be in that front line over there with that kind of
Josh,
mentality. Yeah.
Josh would have been the Tu'i Tonga wouldn't even have to tell him. He would have been the first one. He said, "You don't have to tell me, Tu'i Tonga. Just let me go first." Oh yeah. Oh Josh, appreciate it.
Hey, Malo.
At the end of the day, appreciate you joining in and sharing your comments there. But I want to come back. We'll go to the next video, and I really want to underline that because the part that I do agree with what she was sharing is we think the warrior mentality, like Josh is sharing, like that's the pinnacle of what it means to be Polynesian. And I was like, no, that's one aspect of it, right? Just like we talked about tattoos. I feel like so many people are overvaluing the tattoo. I'm not saying it's not an important part of our culture. It has its place. But the question is, what is at the top, right? And what's higher on the the totem pole? And I think the fact that Tonga was peaceful to me is more valuable. And that doesn't mean we weren't warriors. That's actually what we want to call a high IQ warrior because we'll see later on in Captain Cook's descriptions, he describes what those kind of communities in Polynesia were like. But we need to understand that Tonga was peaceful because we have to assume that if there's peace, it's because there was strength, right? That peace through strength kind of mentality. And this video, you know who, what's his name? Tim Pool is, right? Masi?
No.
He's the
I'm not-
guy, Tim Cast IRL. He used to be a liberal, but now he's, you've probably seen him on social media, but now he's kind of more on the conservative side.
Yeah, I
He
think
always
I've seen
wears a
him.
beanie.
Yeah,
He's the
yeah.
one that went to the White House, had like a hoodie on and a beanie. A lot of people were like, dude, what kind of dress is like that going out to the White House? Anyways, he's a smart guy, right? But even he didn't understand this concept that I'm trying to highlight, that we need to understand that it's better to be, I think Joe Rogan uses this quote quite a bit. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war, right? And that's the peace through strength. right? You want to have the warrior mentality. You want to have the Tu'i Halafatai switch available to you to use it, but you don't want to use it. You want to be a gardener, but you have to have that capacity within you, because when war happens, you got to be able to step up, right? And so, but you don't want to be the gardener who's unprepared and goes to war and that's all you have. But let's listen to this argument. So this kind of debate between these two guys, and there's a third guy kind of commentating, and he gives good commentary to understand what's trying to be expressed. And I think it's this guy. Let me know if you don't hear the sound, Mussy.
Tim doesn't seem to really know what hit him here.
You have no right to do shit except whatever you can enforce.
Right.
Your mechanism is force, and the mechanism against you is force.
And so
all rights are as force.
you're talking about government protections, not rights.
No, I'm talking about rights. What is a right?
He has not thought this through in this way before, because most people don't go to this level. When you encounter someone who has,
The reality is, rights are recognized as things that we can and must do to survive and maximize.
I think
potential.
rights are force, and I think that
You think rights are force?
Government
Yeah, rights are
protections.
What do you mean rights are
You're
force?
talking-
wait a minute, what? Hang on a sec.
right to me is an entitlement absent duty. That's a right. Okay, you're entitled to it, but you have no
What,
duty.
what does that mean?
If you have a right to own a gun, do you have a duty to own a gun?
What do you have a duty to speak?
No, you don't
start
have
with
a
the
duty
First
to speak.
If you have a right
No.
to vote, do you have a duty
So
to
you-
vote? The
so
answer
right,
is
so
yes.
it'd be an
That's
entitlement.
your argument.
It's an entitlement
But
absent a duty.
The line is drawn on two layers by the laws of physics and the legal framework.
you can speak,
Yeah, you can.
and so
Until you
the-
can't.
The question
Until somebody stops you with force.
You only have a right if you can defend it against force. Founding fathers made it clear that we've created this framework, but it's up to you to be able to protect it and keep it.
So you're talking about government restrictions are made up by
No,
us as a people.
Just people can adhere to your rights without any form of government. If you're walking down the street and you speak, and a guy turns around and smacks you in the mouth and breaks your jaw, right? He has now used force against whatever this right you think you have to speak.
We do walk around today as though this is all it's just the way it is and nothing can challenge it, but it will be challenged at some point.
So
is
it is an intrinsic moral function,
Well, okay,
or
intrinsic meaning what?
it means if again, I'll try to explain. If you're born and you live in the middle of the woods, there are things you can do. You can hunt for food. You can defend yourself. You can speak freely.
But because you can do something doesn't mean you have the right to do it.
Yeah, but what makes it an intrinsic right to be able to do? Like, where does this idea come from other than you axiomatically kind of just
Evolution.
say, you say because I can do something, I have the right to do something?
It's part of a evolutionary biological structure
So
that
if I-
resulted in the survival of humanity.
Okay, then why do other countries not reflect that evolutionary biological structure with the same rights?
So if I like grab a spear and I can stab somebody with it, I have a right to?
The legal framework is what prevents you from being able to stab the person with the spear.
No,
No,
that's
Why?
that's attacking
different.
somebody. That's
Yeah,
violating.
but other
that's a
than
whole
an
bunch-
axiom of you shouldn't do that because I just don't feel like you should, what makes it intrinsic that I don't do that?
that you don't go and kill another person.
Yeah.
So the way I view rights would be things that and again, there's a debate over what rights are.
Yeah, let's start with that. What are they?
I genuinely think Tim has never been challenged on this idea before.
No. So there, it's honestly difficult to define,
Yeah.
but it is certain moral structures or.
I would
things
say
that are-
axioms. Would you agree with that? Just an axiom. So like you have inalienable rights from God according to the Constitution. This is an axiomatic principle. It means this is our like philosophical starting point is that we have these.
I would put it as things that were required or greatly beneficial to the survival of an individual that we greatly benefit.
I agree.
Like,
I agree. We
it's-
benefit. I just don't know what makes them intrinsic or like you're born with them or something like this, other than we just kind of agree to it.
So I think the restrictions we kind of agree to, and some people might view some things as rights and other things not as rights.
Mhm.
I think Tim is using the word rights too loose. Tim does
Interesting.
Isn't that an interesting perspective?
So, what are your thoughts on that, Dor?
Yeah. So the reason why I bring this up is order and peace is not the natural state of the world, right? Just like constitutional rights of freedom of religion, freedom of speech, that's not the natural state of the world. The natural state of the world is, I don't like what you're saying. I smash and break your jaw so you can't say anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why in certain areas, it's chaos right? Like when we look at, let's say, like ancient Fiji, the reason why ancient Fiji was a war ground because there was no structure. Number one, no philosophical starting point to say there is a better way. So that's the starting point, right? Like the axiom that he says. But even just having that axiom is not enough. You have to have a mechanism of force or enforcement to make sure that that philosophy is enforced. That's why Tu'i Halafatai said, hey guys, we want war, but we're not going to do it here in Tonga, because if we try to do it here in Tonga, the force will come up to stop us.
Yeah.
Tonga was too stable. And that's what I'm trying to really emphasize is you have to look deeper and not have this unrealistic idea that, oh, the Tongans were just so peaceful because they just like to dance and sing all day. We know Tongans can be deadly.
Yeah.
We know that. We've seen the stories, and it's not just stories in Tonga. It's stories in Fiji. It's stories in Samoa. It's stories in Futuna and Uvea. There's even stories in Rotuma.
Yeah.
So the idea that Tongans can be warriors and exercise force, that's a reality. But that reality is when you wield force correctly with the right philosophy, then the right social structure, what does it result in? Let's use America. You had the Constitution, right? The Constitution existed, but America didn't have peace. Why? Because England came and said, I don't care about your Constitution. I don't care about your, freedom of religion.
Your Declaration of Independence. We don't care.
Yeah. I'm going to come with my spear and I'm going to spear you and you're going to do what I tell you to do. It wasn't until America was able to, number one, use force to ensure that their principle was established, and then use force again to provide a stable environment for an economy to grow, for a military to be built, for a whole structure of peace and prosperity that led to the superpower that it is today, right? Just like, how Trump had like a little celebration or a rally for the military forces, and people were making fun of the American soldiers who were marching. I don't know if you saw that, Masi.
No.
So they're making fun of the American soldiers because, when you watch China and those other ones, it's like, it's like
everyone in
yeah, and it looks great. And then they showed like American soldiers and they're almost just like walking, right? And everybody was like, what kind of military is this? Only America. And then what happened 2 weeks later? Donald Trump blows up the nuclear program in Iran.
In one try. That's amazing.
In one try, right? And then it's like, hey, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by, this kind of nonchalant, this freedom that's given and less strict, right? Not this Spartan martial law. Don't be fooled that means there's no military capabilities. This is actually the most deadly military force on the planet. When you talk about warriors who can execute a plan, America is at the top. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I agree with her, like kind of going back to the first video. I agree. We were great at farming. We were great at seafaring. But that's all because there was a social or philosophical or religious undertone that can only be maintained because there was force to maintain that structure. So we're trying to elevate the idea here is, yes, you're right, we were farmers and fishers, but the natural state is not everyone's going to be a farmer or fisher when someone's trying to kill you every day. When you're worried about staying alive from being stabbed to death, you're not going to focus on farming and fishing and cultivating and so forth. And the fact that Tonga was able to establish this with little to no policing, what that tells me is this has been happening for hundreds to thousands of years. This is the same reason why America is kind of quite miraculous is in a short period of time, the order is not established by martial law and communism and a social score and blah blah blah. It's established through freedom and so forth. But that's what I was kind of trying to go at. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Monsieur, kind of clarify on that.
So so what I'm understanding is there is no rights or freedom unless there's a consequence of enforcement going to happen if you break the normal, I guess, environment that you're in or your rights that you're in. Is that kind of what I'm getting at?
You don't have the ability. The right exists. Let's say God has a right for all his children, right?
Mhm.
But that right cannot be made manifest physically unless you have a capacity to defend it and make sure that that right can be practiced. Right? Like he's using, oh, you have a right to speak. Yeah, God says all his children should be able to express themselves. But if the guy comes and tries to punch you in the face and there's either no police or you don't have a First Amendment or Second Amendment to pull out a gun and say, don't touch me, I have a right to speak and I have a right to shoot you for stopping me, and an enforcement mechanism, your rights mean nothing, right? It's kind of like, I hopefully this is not coming across the wrong way. It's kind of like the treaty in New Zealand. When you don't have a mechanism to enforce what you believe are your rights in that treaty, it's like the treaty doesn't exist. Right? And that's unfortunately what happened in New Zealand is they came to the treaty and then the government gets formed and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're not honoring what we thought the treaty was. But the government and the empire of England has the ability to enforce their version, and the Maoris didn't have the ability to enforce their version. So guess what? The Maori version doesn't exist.
No, I get you. So, coming to that point with the warriors, so there must have been full-time warriors to enforce if there were some little rebel parts that were happening. And that's why, because from my understanding, the Tu'i Halfatai and his crew, they were kind of a little bit of a nuisance, a little bit kind of where they were at. And it was kind of Tu'i Halfatai say, you know what, let's just go to, like what you said, let's go to Fiji, and let's just cause our chaos and let loose of us being boys or men out there, because there's no other group that's gonna come stop us. It's only if we're gonna just die in the game of warfare against you would say Fijians back in those days, then so be it. So that seems to be a thing, because there was a consequence that was gonna happen if they kept, let's just say, becoming more of a nuisance, because they would have been there had to be some kind of enforcement by the Tu'i Tonga or even the local chiefs of the Tu'i Vava'u, or like what Ulukalala or some of the higher chiefs. They would have come over and maybe subdued them, because it seemed like it was just a group of guys who just wanted to do whatever kind of thing.
Yeah. They didn't want to subject themselves to the order and the norms of the environment that had been established in Tonga. And why else would they say, oh, we have to go somewhere else? Well, when you want to kill people, it was like, dude, then all you need are other people to kill. But obviously they said, in Tonga, we can't do that. So let's go to Fiji. Let's go to Fiji and we can do that. Right? Which is why when they came back, Tu'i Halfatai comes back to Tonga and he finds out
Civil War.
Yes, the Civil War had started. He's like, holy smokes, this is what we've been asking for. Now there's instability. Now there's chaos. There's no more structure to enforce the norms. And he's like, man, too bad I'm sick. But you know what? I'm going to go die out in the battlefield. Right? Because that's what he thought was the warrior's way.
Yeah. Oh, good point. No, good point on that, Tua. Love everyone. And just like we leave in the live digital kava session on the Polynesianized podcast, stay curious and ask the hard question. Ofatu, everyone.
Ofatu. Peace.